Look up at the sky, ask it why are you all so afraid?
What is up, everyone? My name is Andrea. If you don't know me, you should subscribe because, like, why not? You should also hit the notification bell down below to be notified every time I upload a new video. But anyway, today I am finally back with a new video. I apologize, it's been a while. I've been really busy. But I'm back with my recent reads, my wrap up for May, every book that I read in May. I ended up reading 6 books, which is not as good as April. Kind of sad. But it's fine, it's still good, it's still reading, whatever. So yeah, and I had a pretty good reading month, I think. I had only a couple rereads. Like, I know I always reread so many books, but only a couple, so I'm proud of myself. And yeah, just some overall really good ones, some new releases, so let's just get into it. Also, I'm like really upset because you can't see all the dancing skeletons, so let me just show them off. They're really like cool, but my things like cover them. Anyway, okay. So the first book I ended up finishing in May was a reread. We're not surprised. It was A Number in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This was, like I said, a reread, but I listened to it on audio. So I read it on audio, which was different because the first time I read it, I had physically read it. And I would say that I really appreciated the audiobook. I was kind of hesitant because I don't know. I used to have this thing where I didn't like audiobooks. Like I never would read on there, read by listening. And now I've been getting into it a lot more and I do really like it. So yeah. Rereading Ember was just like a gift to myself because I love Ember so much. It's just such a great story, and I was so mad because I wanted to read the next ones. I ended up actually getting this one on Audible by using a free trial and a free credit, and then I didn't realize you can only get one book for free per month, so I wasted it. I mean, I didn't waste it, but I had no more, so I had to cancel that subscription, and yeah. But I was so glad I found it. I wanted to continue and reread all of them on audio, just didn't get to because, like I said, I didn't have any more free credits or free trials or anything. If you don't know, really quickly, A Number in the Ashes is about a girl named Laya whose brother ends up getting taken, and basically this whole book she is trying to get him back and get him out of prison. And on the other side of that, this is multiple POVs, so our other point of view is from Elias. Elias is a boy in a sort of military school where he is training with a bunch of other students to become the military for the Empire. And the problem with Elias is that he doesn't like what the Empire stands for and he actually wants to leave. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I personally just love the way that Elias and Laya's stories merge together and become, you know, one cohesive story. And the way this one ends, just I want to read the next one so bad. I want to reread it already. But if you haven't checked out Ember, please read it. It's a 5-star. It was, I think, a 4-star, but like I've said before, if I reread a book, it's probably gonna be a 5-star a second time, and it was. So then I read Roundbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. This is her newest book. It just came out. It's her first book not in the Red Queen series, which is really cool. And this is a first in a new fantasy series, which I was really excited about. I didn't even know she was coming out with a new book, and then when I found out, I was like, I don't know. I don't really trust Victoria Aveyard. I just didn't like the Red Queen series as much as some other people. I definitely found a lot of problems with it. I thought it was boring. I've literally said on my channel that Glass Sword is the worst book I've ever read, and I think it still stands, it still is. But I was still willing to give her a shot for some reason. I think it's because this cover is gorgeous. That honestly, that's what it is. So marketing helps people. It didn't hurt that the premise of this book wasn't awful. Like, it was pretty interesting. A ragtag group of misfits have to save the world because nobody else is there to do it, and they are just definitely not the people that are qualified to save the world, but like they have to. I eat that up. I was very excited for that plot, and I started off with this book feeling very strongly and very happy about it, and then we were getting to the middle and I was like, yeah, nothing's happening, and then we're just going more and more and nothing is happening again and again, and it's like, Victoria, no ma'am, it did not need to be a series. This is a thick book. This book is literally about 550 pages. It's not small, it's pretty big, it's pretty dense. But it could have been a standalone, honestly, if she would have just hurry things up. Like, I think there's a lot that could have been cut out that was literally not important. It's not even one of those things where like every little thing is like leading up to a big, it's not. It honestly could have been cut out. And so that was my biggest problem with it. The beginning, the prologue starts off so strong. We're like at war getting this fight scene, and it's like, yes, like give me this, like I'm here for it. And then, you know, as you get farther into the book, you're kind of like, it's kind of like she kind of lost some steam. She doesn't really know where it's going. And then at the end, she's like, okay, we got to wrap this up. Got to give the editor something so that there can be another book. It just, you know, it just didn't need to be that long. But the main character, well, there's several. There's a lot of POV switches, a lot, like 6. But one of the main characters' name is Andri, and my name is Andri, and I've never read a character that has the same name as me. So, you know, I was hooked because the prologue had this character Andri in it, and I was like, I think it's a 5-star, but it wasn't. It was a 3.5 star for me, honestly. But Andri, he's a boy. I'm a girl, but in the book he's a guy, and you know, I'm okay with that. It would have been cool if it was a girl character named Andri, because, you know, it would have been more accurate to me. But I still think it's really cool, so I'm not mad at it. And I did like his character a lot. Like, he's a squire. Interesting. I kind of didn't know what a squire was, but I learned. And honestly, like, I feel like he's gonna be the one to really help out in some of the next books. So yeah, basically what's going on here, the main character is not Andri. You know, I would disagree. I'd beg to differ, but it's not. It's Coraine. Coraine is a really interesting character. I did like her. She has some spunk. She's a lot more exciting than Mare from the Red Queen, and I'm not trying to compare them, but like I'm comparing them right now. And yeah, so Victoria Aveyard learned how to write main characters better. I would say the character development was better. But they kind of, was it? Okay, maybe it wasn't better. It was just, she was more interesting. So basically there is this darkness that is spreading throughout the ward, which is this magical land, and Coraine has something that can save the world. She is basically the last hope. And I think that's cool. I love whenever a hero has risen from the ashes and it's like the only person who can save the world. I love that, and it's always like a commoner, like somebody that wouldn't be typical to be a hero. Well, that's Coraine. And her, just, she has this yearning that she wants to do more with her life. So she's kind of a perfect protagonist to save the world. But there was this one specific quote that I just fell in love with her. So Coraine is like, I want to go. I want to just go somewhere else than this place that I live, like by the sea. Like, I want to go across the sea. I want to do other things. And like, I just was relating to her very heavily. And so there was these couple lines that really hit me, and I literally had to highlight them. But it says, "This is a good place," she told herself, looking back to the harbor. "I should be content, and yet I cannot be. Something in me will not take root." I don't know why, but that just really hit me. Like, something in me will not take root. And I just feel like a lot of people can relate to that, like whether you're living in your hometown and you've never experienced anything different and you want to move on to something else, try a different city, like you just want to be someone else. Like, there's a lot of ways you could take that, and I feel like I definitely related to Coraine and that line. And when I can find some real life connections, it definitely helps and it makes me more interested in the story. And so that's what happened there. 3.5, like I said, because by the end she couldn't pull it off. The whole book isn't strong. The beginning is, but the rest of it's not. Cover's pretty, map's pretty. I'd say it's still worth it if you have some time to dedicate to it, but overall, yeah, it's not the strongest read. So I also read another new book that came out fairly recently, and that is Zara Hossein Is Here by Sabina Khan. This one, I had seen the cover online before, and I saw it in store, and I was like, that looks really pretty. Like, I want to read it. I was drawn to it. I just felt like I had this connection. So Zara's family moved from Pakistan to Corpus Christi, Texas, which is very close to where I live, so I kind of wanted to buy it. So Zara is a Muslim girl going to a Catholic school, a Catholic high school, and she is getting pretty much bullied and harassed, specifically by this one person named Tyler. And when Tyler does some things and an event occurs that takes things incredibly too far and is just terrible, Zara's life is literally thrown off balance, terrible, like, it's just really sad. And this is a contemporary that just goes through what Zara goes through and just gives you the raw feelings, gives you the hardships that Muslim people have to face. And honestly, I thought that the author did it very well. It was a really good book, and it was perfectly paced too. It's a short book, but I was interested throughout the whole thing, read it pretty fast, and I think it was a very important book. And if you'd like to read contemporaries like that, I mean, I'd say this is an important contemporary. Like, there are some fluffy contemporaries, romance contemporaries, ones that you don't really get anything from, but these are ones you get real life views and like real world teachings, and so that's kind of cool, and I really did like this one, so I definitely recommend this one. I believe I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So then I read another new release that came out in May, and it is The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan Hay. This one, I read the synopsis before it came out, and I just knew I wanted to pick it up pretty fast because it really caught my interest. This one is really cool to me because it's a sci-fi, not just fantasy, which I'm mostly used to. So I thought that was me branching out to science fiction fantasy. But I did like the sci-fi aspect. It was really cool. Basically what's going on here is C wakes up on an island alone, doesn't know how she got there, doesn't really remember a lot about her past life except for some things that come back to her over time. And kind of a world away, her sister Casey is living in the eco-cities that the Earth now has. And Casey is wondering what happened to her sister and really wants to find out the truth and where her sister is, and is not accepting that she's completely gone. The whole book, C is trying to get back to Casey, and Casey is trying to figure out exactly what is going on with C, and it's just two sisters that are really trying to find each other. And the sci-fi part comes in a lot, where this is a dystopian kind of world. My dog is squeaking his toy, I'm sorry. This is a dystopian type of world where the Earth, the ecosystem, has pretty much failed everyone, and the environment is gone to shit because people don't take care of the Earth. Sound familiar? And so people have begun to live in eco-cities, which are built like into the sky. You don't have to even come down to Earth anymore because the Earth is literally toxic. The sea is toxic. You cannot go there unless you have a full-on suit because you will get sick and you will die. So a lot of the more richer people, or the people who are privileged enough to live in an eco-city, do live in eco-cities, whereas there are still people on the Earth living basically just to die very quick deaths because they are getting exposed and getting sick a lot. So that is the world going on, and the sci-fi aspect and the story of the two sisters really melts together so well, and I enjoyed it so much more than I thought I would. I think this was just written in a very entertaining way. I think that the author is very talented, and you could tell in the writing it seemed very effortless, and it was engaging the whole way through. So if you have any interest in picking this one up, I'd say go for it because it was really good. It kept me up all night. I had dreams about it. It took me a couple of days, and like at night I would dream about this book. So I know I really loved it, and I believe I gave it 4 stars. I'll check my Goodreads. I don't know if I gave it 5 or not, but if I did, I'll put it here, but I think I gave it 4. So then throughout the month of May, I was also listening to Legendborn on audiobook by Tracy Dion. I gave Legendborn 4 out of 5 stars, I believe. Again, if I gave it 5, I'll put it here, but I think I gave it 4. Legendborn is a fantasy about a girl named Brie Matthews who goes to the school and ends up getting thrust into a world of Merlins and magic and a bunch of King Arthur vibes, or literally King Arthur stuff. I don't like King Arthur retellings, but it's not a retelling, it just has that mythology. Is that the right word? I think so. Like, it has that mixed in, and the way that it is in here is really good, and I actually did enjoy it, so that's how I know it was worth it for me, because I have read King Arthur things that I didn't like, but this one I did, so that was really cool. And seeing the Merlin magic and all that stuff mixed into this fantasy world was really cool. And so the school that Brie ends up going to, she's learning a lot about her mother's past, who has passed away, and she's learning a lot about herself. And she really just gets thrown into a world that she did not expect, that is full of magic. There are demons and legendborn and magical people and Merlins and mages and so many more things that I found this fantasy world to be very rich, and I really did love it. Though the beginning of this book was kind of slow for me. Like, it was a lot of stuff being thrown at you, but it was good stuff because once you got to the end, you realized that you needed to know those things to understand the rest of the plot. And so by the end, it was just go, go, go. It was honestly like the best roller coaster ride of events and turned out to be something that I really loved. And the ending, I think I was like working out when I was listening to the last parts of it, and I was just so engrossed in it and just loving it and like having the best time. There are some great, really interesting characters in this book. Bree herself, I love her so much. Nick, he's good. Sel, amazing. 10 out of 10 man right there. And if you don't know who that is, you're just gonna have to read to find out. So yeah, that was Legendborn. I loved it. Finally, the last book I finished was Golden Compass, The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. This one, I was basically threatened to read this by my friend Sarah. Like, she was forcing me. I'm just kidding. I've always had an interest in it, so I'm glad I finally picked it up. But this one is definitely a young adult that I didn't expect to like as much, but I really did enjoy this one, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is a very old children's fantasy. I think it came out in 2002 is what it says on the back here. So it's very old, very late to the game. I know a lot of people love it. There's a TV show. It's not new. Like, this is something people know about. I am literally the last one to read it. But it's about a girl named Lyra. I love Lyra. First of all, let me just say that. She was a very entertaining girl to read from, a very entertaining main character, and she just finds herself thrown into danger any way that she can, at danger at every turn. Like, Lyra is just a danger magnet, but the things that she goes through and the people she comes across and the creatures and all that stuff creates a very different world, and it was very exciting. Parts of it, I will say, I was a little bored, and I was like, how could like a 5th grader read this? I could not read this in 5th grade. I probably would have like been like, what are these words? Because some of these words are huge, but it was still engaging, and like, I'm glad I read it, if that makes sense. I will be picking up the next one and continuing the series because I do want to finish out the trilogy. I do think that I would recommend it to some younger readers, like middle schoolers and stuff like that, so I was very happy with this one overall. So that is everything that I read in May. I feel like I just talked a lot for not that many books, but I'm sorry. If you stayed to the end of this video, comment down below the skull emoji, for very obvious reasons, and I would just know that you are a real one because you stayed till the end of the video, and I love to see who are the real ones here. So that's all I have to say. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!
Waking up feeling like it's gonna rain. It's sunny out, but it just comes in waves. When you ask me if I'm okay,